o'clock, and welcome to the July 12th Metropolitan Traffic and Parking Commission. If you are not satisfied with a decision made by the Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. I ask for a motion to approval of today's agenda.
Move to approve.
There's a first. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been approved. The minutes of the June 14th, 2021 Traffic and Parking Commission meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The minutes have been approved. Approval of the consent agenda. Please note that items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they'd like to see removed or further discussed? Is there anyone in the audience? Okay. Staff?
I do not have any emails or texts or anything wanting to hold any of these, but I don't know if you've heard from Councilman O'Connell.
My understanding he was going to be here today.
Okay. Well, at least none of the mandatories are his.
Okay.
A couple of the other consent items are in his district, but I think we can move on.
Okay. I know there's an item here with Council Member Cash, who's here today. Thank you for coming, Council Member. So we'll read the consent agenda and seek for approval. Item A is a mandatory referral 2021 M008 AB001, a request for the abandonment of a portion of right-of-way and easement along Booker Street measuring approximately 10 feet by 113 feet along the south property line of property located at 745 22nd North Court, requested by Catalyst Design Group. Item B, mandatory referral 2021 M009 AB001, a request for the abandonment of the right-of-way and easements on Baxter Street from Hart Lane to Home Road, requested by Public Works on behalf of Council Member Nancy Van Rees, applicant. Okay, Ms. Van Rees here. Item C is mandatory referral 2021M010AB001, a request for the abandonment of the right-of-way and easements on a portion of 14th Avenue South from Wedgwood Avenue to Ackland Avenue between 12th Avenue South and 15th Avenue South, and the abandonment of the right-of-way and easements on a portion of Alley 393 from Alley 392 northward to the dead end between 12th Avenue South and 14th Avenue South, requested by Catalyst Design Group. Item D is to authorize an all-way stop control at Clay Creek Point and Cottage View Lane, requested by Council Member Lee. Item E is to authorize the following parking conditions for the Davidson County Sheriff's Office. All are change in records only. The sheriff parking only on the south side of Cherry Newsom Way from South 5th Street to 100 feet west of South 5th Street. No parking anytime on the south side of Cherry Newsom Way from South 4th Street to 100 feet west of South 5th Street. No parking anytime on the north side of Cherry Newsom Way from South 4th Street to South 5th Street. No parking anytime on both sides of South 5th Street from Shelby Street to Cherry Newsom Way. Item F is to authorize the following conditions for the 5th and Broadway development, requested by 5th and Broad. A 10-minute ride share parking only on the north side of Broadway, 50 feet west of 5th Avenue, 25 feet in length. Item B is a 10-minute ride share parking only on south side of Commerce Street, 50 feet west of Fifth Avenue, 25 feet in length. Item G is to authorize no trucks over 8 tons on Page Road from Harding Pike to Chickering Road, requested by Councilmember Henderson. Thank you for attending, Councilmember. Item H is to authorize a bus parking only on the east side of Representative John Lewis Way, 50 feet in length from 325 feet south of Gay Street to 275 feet south of Gay Street, requested by FlexBus. And item I is to authorize stop control at the following uncontrolled locations requested by residents. Chip, quick question. What does stop control mean in this particular case?
These are all T intersections,
Okay.
and for some reason over the years, there's never been a stop sign there to stop at
Okay.
T. So it's just to put in a stop sign.
All right. Thank you for the clarification. The first item is on Andrew Place at Sandy Drive. B is at Pierman Drive and Tammany Drive. C is at Grover Street at Francis Street. D is on Center Street at Hadley Benz Boulevard. Item E on Gardner Lane at West Knocktorn Drive. F is on Northwind Court at Northwind Drive. And G is on Robbie Court at Kimberly Drive. The consent agenda has been read. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
We have a first. Is there a second?
Second, but I do have an item to pull.
What's that?
Can we pull item H?
The bus parking only? Okay. If you would make a motion to pull that item, we'll do that, and then we'll modify the consent. Is there a second to pull H?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Then I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as it's been modified.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The consent agenda has been approved as modified. Councilmember O'Connell, item H.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to get maybe a staff update on this one and just confirm what I know this is, if I'm remembering the location, this is very near to the both municipal auditorium and WeGo's downtown transfer facility. I just want to understand the private operator's request here.
I'll be happy to answer that. Is anyone from FlixBus here or from WeGo? I'll take it. This is, remember Megabus when they came? Megabus is no longer coming to Nashville. This is the spots that you guys had approved for Megabus years ago. Because of a new crosswalk, we did move it about 10 feet or so. But this is actually going through WeGo and some folks at WeGo. This is the agreement to where we want these buses coming in from Atlanta or wherever to come down to WeGo, and then they jump on those for extra transportation. So this is just to use those Megabus spots that were already there.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that was already taken advantage of something at the transfer facility, so thank you. That is exactly what I need to know, and I'd move approval.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? There's a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. All right. The next item on the agenda is reduce the speed limit on Page Road from Chickering Road to Belmead Boulevard from 35 miles per hour to 25 miles an hour, requested by Councilmember Henderson. And I know the next item relates to you as well, so let me just read that, then you can come speak, please. Item B is to reduce the speed limit on Estes Road from Harding Pike to Woodmont Boulevard from 35 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour, requested by Councilmember Henderson and Pulley. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Regarding Page Road, this has been something that constituents have been asking me about for a long time. Page Road, in its majority, from Harding Road to Belmead Boulevard, is 25 miles per hour. as is the whole entirety of that neighborhood. Mr. Tefel can vouch for that. He resides within that neighborhood. We were one of the first traffic calming neighborhoods in Nashville about 15 years ago. And so Page Road has been 25 miles per hour in the majority for many, many years, and acceptedly so. Page is also, Mr. Knopf can perhaps speak to it from an engineering perspective, very narrow. It is the kind of road that, service trucks and really just your F-150s, it is not uncommon. It's a mirror touch situation. Further deep ditches such that the white edge line typically over the years, crumbles at the edge, and the ditches are very deep. This portion of Page Road, I think it's surprising to everyone that it's signed at 35. Belmead Boulevard is a 4-lane divided boulevard, and it is 35 miles per hour, but Page Road and Belmead Boulevard are not the same street. Page Road is Page Road, and the rest of it is 25 miles per hour. This is one of our last, or not last, but few streets still in the county that have kind of the kissing canopy. Trees are right along the road. They're stacked stone. I mean, they're really like the tree kind of, the base of the root, like the asphalt's right up next to it. It's very narrow. Further, it's an unlighted street. It's kind of right on the edge of the USD and the GSD with the city of Belmead and the Warner Parks. So this runs along the Warner Parks. It is extremely narrow. The rest of the street is 25 miles per hour. It is unlighted, a lot of dips, a lot of bends. I just think it's for safety and continuity. I would request your support. Sure, happy to. Estes was before you all at last meeting on the consent agenda. Council Lady Murphy, Councilman Pulley, and I had all spoken about Estes Road. Again, from a continuity standpoint, the conditions of Estes change quite a bit along the way. It is narrower, closer to Woodlawn. It does get wider within District 34, but that said, we've got several schools, folks walking to school at Julia Green School, and so I have had neighbors on Estes asking for that speed limit reduction for many years. It's well supported. I've put it in my newsletter anticipating that I would ask for it. That newsletter goes out to about 800 people. It's got a really good open rate. I have heard nothing but yes, please. We very much support that. So with the other end of Estes now changed to 30, again, for continuity, I would request your support just to take it the entirety of the street, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else here who wants to speak on this? If not, is there a motion to approve
Move to approve.
item A, which is reduce the speed limit on Page Road? Is there a second? Second. First and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Your speed limit's been approved. Item B, reducing the speed limit on Estes Road. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You have your 2-2.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
Item C is to appeal the staff denial for an all-way stop at Grantland Avenue and Prentice Avenue requested by Councilmember Sledge. Let me turn my speaker on. Here we go. Item C is to appeal staff denial for an all-way stop at Grantland Avenue and Prentice Avenue requested by Councilmember Sledge. Okay, staff?
I would assume we do have some folks here for this one. Without the councilman here, I'll follow your lead on that. But Mr. Hegerty has a presentation if we want to go with the details of the all-way stop. But if we want to hear from the residents, that'd be fine too.
All right. Who's here to speak about this matter? Okay. Why don't you come forward, state your name, where you live, please, and thank you for attending.
Okay. My name is Amy Blanks, and I live at 2105 Grantland Avenue. And we've lived there a little over 9 years. And during the time that we've lived there, our street has seen at the end where Bradford and Grantland meet, there's been 2 residential complexes. One is an apartment and one is a condominium. And then on the other side of that next road, but I can't tell you what the name of the road is, there's another apartment complex. And then what happens is in the morning when the residents are coming or going to work, they want to avoid the traffic on 8th Avenue. So they cut through the apartments, and then the people in the apartments and the condominiums, they use Grantland Avenue to connect to Benton and then take the little jaunt to get to the back alley that parallels Wedgwood to get on 65. And they do not go the speed limit. They go very fast down there. The other thing is that in the time that my husband and I have lived there, there's been quite a few families that have moved in, and they have very small children. There's also teenagers that live on that street and learning how to drive. I know there's one father that gets out in the road to try to slow them down. People have resorted to putting limbs in the road to try to get people to slow down. And then now, when my daughter and I, we were leaving, it's probably been about 2 months ago, the school bus, and thank goodness they were without children, almost hit my daughter and I, because he was not going the speed limit. He was going well over the speed limit. And we would just request that a 4-way stop be put in to try to slow the traffic down, because it's very dangerous at this point.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to speak. Appreciate it.
I'd like to ask her a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, how does Councilman Sledge feel about this?
Well, the request to appeal came from Councilmember Sledge, and most of you got bombarded with emails from me about these 2 cases coming up. So Councilman Sledge is in support.
Okay, thank you.
Are you here to speak as well? Okay, just state your name for the record, please, ma'am.
My name is Betty Smith, and I live on Lindale Avenue. And I'm here because I was involved in a wreck at that very intersection. I'm going down Grantland. Somebody coming up Prentice did not stop and broadsided me at that very intersection. It was back when, because I've been there 30 years. It was back when Beeman was test driving cars through the neighborhood. So I'm here in support of it because I was in an accident at that intersection.
Thank you for coming today to speak to this. Okay. Mr. Hegerty, do you have something, a presentation or comments about this matter?
Sure. Really no, is my microphone picking up?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Derek Hegerty, NDOT. We supplied the commissioners with a report on this intersection there. It does not meet the warrants set out by the MUTCD. If there are any specific questions about anything in that packet, happy to answer those, but no additional comments.
Question, is any of this area been considered for traffic calming? Because I'm familiar with this area, and I know that there is the cut-through traffic. It's a great way to get to the interstate by meandering down the streets, which I've done many times myself. So I'm just asking if there's been any consideration for traffic calming, because it appears the issue is speed limits.
Yet we have not received an application for traffic calming from this neighborhood.
I know we have asked before about, I believe they called them speed bumps, but we were told that we could not get them. I know that this is not the first request for a 4-way stop, because when I was talking to the residents along Grantland, they said that they tried several years ago to get one, and this is, I believe they told me, I've only lived there 9+ years, that this is the 4th time that it's been brought before the commission to do this. The other thing is, I know we've had accidents. The man that lives across the street from us, they knocked his BMW into the next neighbor's car, which ended up on the sidewalk.
Well, thank you. Commissioners, any further questions, discussion?
What is the speed limit on Prentice?
It's actually on Grantland, and it's 25 miles per hour, but they don't go, or 20, is it 20 or 25?
I think it's 25.
The speed limit on Grantland is 20, on Prentice it's 25.
Okay.
Prentice.
But they do not go 20 miles an hour.
And Mr. Chair, I would just maybe advise residents that Metro's neighborhood traffic calming program is now open for enrollment right now. So if y'all as neighbors want to submit an application, possibly work with Councilmember Sledge for the neighborhood, it may be worth doing that. Runs through July 30th. So it might be worth submitting an application. If you just go to mpw.nashville.gov and pull up traffic calming, you'll see it there.
And I think since Mr. Hegerty is here, this would probably be a time that I think that we can convince him to chat with you all to figure out this process. Is that correct, Mr. Hegerty?
Absolutely. We can
Okay.
talk to the hall as soon as we're done here.
Okay.
Okay, the other, one thing I do want to ask, is it the cost of the stop sign? Is that what the hesitation is the actual monetary cost of it?
We traffic engineers, sorry about the pocket protector, we don't factor cost into our decisions.
Oh, because I was going to say that I
Yeah.
would personally pay for it if that's the case.
No, safety, money is not part of this body. We have to figure that out when we get back to the office. If they approve it, we put it in, whether it's a signal, whether it's whatever. We don't make decisions based on money. I hope these guys do not. I don't want to speak for them, but we do not base our decisions on money. This is all about federal guidelines, boring stuff, but this is, when Derek says we didn't meet warrants, we look at accidents, and we look at volumes, and we look at speeds, and we look at the geometrics of the road, and it just didn't pass the test for the engineering world. It has nothing to do with funding.
Because I know that there was a resident, Mary, I can't recall her, I'm horrible with names, but Mary, she lived a couple of doors down from us, and they put the little black traffic counter out, but someone kept coming and cutting it.
That's what we look for. That's counting your cars. That's counting vehicles. Going down the
Okay,
road.
because,
So don't go out there and cut it or hit it with a hammer.
oh, no, I didn't. Because
people do.
I know that she even complained that people just kept cutting it because they didn't want the traffic to be counted. So,
Okay. Commissioners, is any further discussion? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have first and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The stop sign's been approved.
oh, thank you.
great.
And then,
Hey, she said she'd pay for it.
okay. All right, just get your checkbook out before you leave. And then the second thing is, I think Mr. Hegerty would like to speak. We'll chat with you all concerning traffic calming, because that's a more effective way to slow down cars. It's been proven. So, all right, thank you for coming. All right, next item is to appeal staff decision for an all-way stop at Cheatham Place and Arthur Avenue requested by Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a little background before we get to staff reports on this. Anybody who's driven this stretch of Arthur, basically running from Monroe on the southern end to Buchanan, knows that it is a very popular cut through to avoid Roselle Parks Boulevard. It cuts through really two neighborhoods. One is Elizabeth Park, sort of north of the interstate, and the other is historic Buena Vista on the southern side. I think I had some hope that implementation of part of the North Nashville Bikeways project may slow traffic down here. We've kind of been through a sequence of steps. That's been implemented, did not seem to have any effect on its own. Separately, commissioners might remember we added a stop sign at Councilmember Taylor's request just north of the boundary of our districts at Jane and Arthur a few months back. And again, I think the residents in this area looked on maybe with some optimism that having a stop sign on the cut through may slow traffic here. But since then, we've continued to see motorists traveling at high rates of speed and accidents at this intersection where there is quite a bit of pedestrian traffic and is also adjacent to where we've seen a lot of tornado recovery activity. So I know this has been one of the top traffic and parking requests from constituents in this area, and I would ask commissioners to support it.
Thank you. Any comments, discussion?
I think we also have at least a couple folks out in the audience.
Okay, there's some folks here to speak to this. Thank you, council member. Just state your name for the record. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Phil Cabucci, and I'm the president of the Historic Buena Vista Community Association. I am coming to you today with requests from my neighbors and the people that I represent from our community. We have, over the last 6 months, noticeably, and most noticeably over the last 4 months as our world has continued to reopen, have noticed increased traffic and speeding up and down Arthur Avenue. This has caused numerous accidents, both hit and runs, and more serious accidents, most recently including a child being hit by a car who was using the crosswalk at that block. Since then, we've had serious accidents that have involved injuries that have sent multiple people to the hospital. The speed on Arthur has long been a problem, and most recently, even with the stop sign at Jane Street and Arthur, it has been an ongoing concern over the last few months. And while we understand that investment has been made on Arthur Avenue in terms of pylons and bike lanes, it has still become a problem specifically between Jane Street and Arthur, if you're moving up and down that street, that stretch of road. And it's even become a worse situation because parked cars are now sort of into the street where bike lanes have nestled up against the sidewalk. And so you now have cars in the middle of the street where it causes even further inability to see from either direction as you're driving down. And while we appreciate the traffic calming measures that have been taking place on that specific street of Arthur, it has still caused a lot of other concerns for residents in our community. Councilmember O'Connell, who's our council member, obviously, as well as Mr. Knopf, have received quite a few emails from us today in support of a stop sign. I'm glad to share these with you if you have not received copies of them. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for attending today. Are there any comments, questions?
I just have one question.
Yes.
So the traffic calming program has already been put into place on this street?
No, in fact, Historic Buena Vista neighbors have applied actually for the program on 11th, and it has not succeeded there. Arthur, I can't remember if it's rated as an arterial, but what kind is it, Derek?
It's actually a local street.
It is a local street, but it feels like an arterial if you're on it. And so I think looking at how, even with some sort of road diet through the Bikeways project, it just has not slowed traffic through the area. But it has not been, I think neighbors are hoping to see this be eligible for a stop sign and then look at 11th for continued traffic calming, because that end of Monroe where 11th connects to Jefferson is also a major source of cut-through traffic.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion to pass.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It has been approved.
Thank you so much.
The last item appears to be a change of record item, is to authorize a Ballet Zone on 6th Avenue North, 30 feet south of Union Street to 110 feet south of Union Street, 80 feet in length, requested by the Hermitage Hotel. This is a change in records only.
Mr. Chair, just get staff to explain the change in records, but otherwise I'm happy to make a motion.
Well, we know that the Valet's been out there for a long, long time, and it never was defined how long. And now that all this other conversation has come up, you're going to see a lot of these as commissioners. We're going to have to define these Valet lengths, because we're going that direction. So that's all this is about.
I'm strongly in favor of that, and I will move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been approved. Okay. The next item on the agenda has been adoption of a proposed valet fee policy. I know there's numerous people in the audience here to speak. Ms. Damasio has come from the mayor's office. If you could come forward, please, because it's helpful to understand how this policy could fit into a program that originating from the mayor's office, please.
It's red, it's on, right? You can hear me now? There we go.
Thank you for coming today. We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here with you. So there are several different initiatives ongoing in the mayor's office right now through our new Metro Nashville Department of Transportation, and even preceding that through Public Works and the mayor's initiatives around the Metro Nashville Transportation Plan, several of which we've presented to the Traffic and Parking Commission before. But the way that the valet policy fits in with all that is you're aware, and as a matter of fact, we owe you at one of the next meetings an update on the CORD smart loading and unloading effort. You may recall that when that started, it was going to be a 6-month effort. It was no cost to us. They've agreed to extend it for another 6 months. We've gotten some really good data from that we'd like to come and report to you on that helps, again, around loading and unloading zones in the downtown. But they felt like with the COVID, with the pandemic and the condition of the downtown and then the bombing and so forth, that it was well worth them extending us another 6 months to give us a better line of sight into those activities in the downtown. So there's that piece. Also, we are in the concluding phases of the smart parking RFP, which will look at those 1,700 or so on-street metered spaces in the downtown and how we're going to operate those in the future. The Downtown Neighborhood Traffic Project is a $1 million study that is a partnership, a funding partnership between Metro Nashville and the Department of Transportation, WeGo, Tennessee Department of Transportation, and the Downtown Partnership to look at curbside management, transit prioritization, and traffic management. Again, the whole valet activity also fits in with all of that. And then, of course, we are aimed towards, and I know, Chairman Green, you and I have discussed this in the past, that in 2022, we would then take all of this work that's been ongoing and done and roll it up into a complete curbside management plan for Metro Nashville that would encompass not just the downtown, but would encompass the metro area. So the valet piece fits in. Obviously, with all of those activities that I just described, it's a building block that will ultimately become a part of our overall curbside infrastructure management.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Commissioners, y'all have any questions? Yes.
Thank you very much. It's very informative. So on the adoption of the proposed valet fee policy, if that's done today, if we adopt that, or if we adopt it, and implement it in 3-6 months, does that affect what you're trying to do to roll out for 2022?
I think that if, I understand that there's been conversation ongoing to delay it for a bit because of all the various, downtown really just sort of coming back, a lot of adjustments in the activity and so forth in the downtown. I don't think the timing of it within, some number of months or so would be a tremendous impact either way.
Right. So I don't know if that's a guidance to get from you or from Mr. Hammond, about 3-6 months, what that does. Okay.
I don't think that would be a problem at all. We're still going to roll it up into the overall curbside infrastructure management work that'll start up next year.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Got one.
Councilmember, you were next, and then Mr. Teffel.
I guess that's maybe, I'm going to follow up on Commissioner Wood's question here. Are you asking us not to take action today, or just advising us that you will be putting together a full curb management program?
No, I'm just advising that, but I think she asked the question that if you did take action today, or if you waited and took action 6 months, would that materially affect the work that we're doing?
Yeah.
And then my answer to that was no, that we can incorporate it now, we can incorporate it in a few months.
Okay, so I mean, basically, with the work you're doing, one way or the other, you would review for inclusion the work that Mr. Hammond and others have done on this valet fee policy.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner.
Thank you. That was similar to my question, and I know you mentioned that this major curbside study that y'all are doing would be completed by 2022.
It'll start in 2022.
It will start in 2022.
These other studies that I mentioned and went through, starting with the cord, smart loading and unloading, and then the smart parking, and then the downtown neighborhood traffic project, which is about to start up, the ongoing schedule of how these things were building blocks leading up to a full curbside infrastructure management plan that we plan to start in 2022.
And by when do you think that report would be completed?
I think it'll probably take about a year to complete. Once we start it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I know there.
I was going to recommend an action today.
Okay. Well, I know there's people here in the audience who'd like to speak to this. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the issue at hand? Yes.
Are we going to hear from Mr. Hammond?
We will.
Okay.
So I want to hear from members of the audience.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Turner with the Nashville Downtown Partnership. I was here last month and talked a lot about the same policy initiatives, very welcome policy issues that Faye just discussed. We think that incorporating that all at the same time could be a big benefit, and we spoke to that last month and supported a deferral at that time. In the preceding 30 days, I looked at sales tax data for downtown and compared it to 2 years ago, and right now we're at 60%. This is the last week of June from the hotel perspective. And May is the latest number I have on food and beverage, 60% of 2019 numbers. So we're really looking at a very robust weekend, which you probably see sometime on the news or social media. But through the week, businesses are still suffering. And I think looking at a fee change right now would be very tough when you think about where these businesses were a year ago. Business in the single digits of where they were prior years, and they've only climbed to 60%. So I think looking at an increase now, while they're still trying to claw back on that remaining 40% and any growth that's possible, would be pretty tough to take at this point. And so if there's a deferral that's offered, I think if there's a deferral offered, we definitely support that. We also actually support a change in the valet fee policy and structure. We think it's good for downtown if it's not so easy to get a valet zone and take up as many spaces as you want. It's not good for loading. It's not good for on-street parking. It's not good for parklets. Overall, it's not good. I just think that right now, to change the fee is a really bitter pill to swallow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Does any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Turner? It's because you've been here before and you're partnered with us on several things.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay. Just state your name for the record, please. Thank you,
and thank you for letting me introduce myself to Tom. We've shared emails, but I've never met him in real life. My name is Lisa LeClaire. I am the general manager at the Hilton Nashville Airport, and we don't do valet parking. However, I'm also the chairperson for the Hospitality Association, and many of our members would be impacted by the policy that is proposed. And I would just reconfirm that for my hotel, I can share with you that we are probably at not quite 60% of our revenues from 2019. So I imagine that downtown is feeling the pinch of that as well. 2020 was certainly a difficult year for all of us, and our industry was really hit hard. I can share an example. At my hotel in the month of May 2020, we were at 7.5% occupancy. Single digits, 7.5. So really painful. And coming out of this, while the weekends do appear to be strong, we're still not back to sold out. And I just would agree that the timing of this is a difficult decision for our members to accept.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? If not, we'll have Mr. Hammond come and just kind of re-summarize the policy, please. Thank you for Mr. Hammond, and thank you for all your efforts on this. We've been working on this matter for quite a while.
We have indeed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
How long have we been talking about valet management? Just curious.
Councilman O'Connell will probably add some time to this answer, but I would say beginning about December of 19, we have documented discussions about this. So, and it has come up every time that there has been a new request for valet since, and likely will do so until we have a more definitive policy here. So last month, I did give more of an overview of this. I will again try to limit remarks just to say that our objective was to clarify existing code, and that code is 1241-080C, where it says the fee for the valet parking permit shall be $50 plus revenue lost annually, and it goes on. We've tried to define exactly what that revenue lost annually is as measured by the hourly rate for the parking metered space, and there are different ways to do that. We acknowledge that. We formed a committee in October of 2020 to look at some of the different ways to do that, had great input from that committee. I won't say everyone on the committee was exactly saying this is what we need to do, but I do feel like we reached consensus in that process that this was a valid way. And since then, we've heard comments like you've heard today, consistently questioning the timing of this. Obviously, the downturn in the economy due to COVID and related impacts. But for the most part, we feel like the policy has held up to a lot of scrutiny as folks have looked into what it means for their business individually. We certainly recognize those impacts. We take those very seriously. We're all in this together and wanting to foster a healthy, diverse, economically beneficial downtown and midtown, wherever we find these valet areas for all of us. And so I will leave it there, but be glad to answer any specific questions if you have them.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think at this point, given that we're about 2 years deep, we should take action, but I think we should also listen to the concerns that we've heard, particularly from the hospitality industry, which we know would be impacted. Just for some further context, in looking at hotel statistics downtown for a similar period, if we look at May 30th to June 5th of 2021, occupancy downtown was down to 20.9%, and it had bounced back to this year's 62.5%. So huge fall off last year, and obviously the climb back has been significant but not complete. I've talked to multiple operators who say it's very likely to be fourth quarter this year before they climb back. So I think what I'd like to recommend is that I'd like to move that the commission adopt staff's overall policy, but that we do so in the following way, that beginning January 1st, the policy becomes advisory, so that any applicant for a valet fee permit would be advised of what the new fee structure would be for a period of 6 months. and then is not implemented until July 1st. And that way, a couple things. It aligns with Metro's fiscal year. It also gives us effectively a year more to capture information about the impact, ongoing impact on the local economy, and it starts to get information out to valet applicants and permit holders before we do that. So that is my recommendation.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second on this motion?
I have a question.
Yes, ask away.
The fee structures that are in the fee examples that are in the valet policy is, do we have any idea of how many businesses are affected by each one of those structures?
I don't have the information broken down that way. There are a number of different scenarios in terms of how many spaces, what the hours of those operations are, and then whether they are in that CBD, the Central Business District, or the Midtown District, which have different parking rates. I do have it broken down by the amount of fee that would result in that. And I've got it broken down in $5,000 increments, but just maybe some of the highlights from that. We do have some that were, and before I get into these, let me also say, as we just saw with the Hermitage Hotel example, as Mr. Knopf alluded to, we expect to see a lot more of that. People coming in and wanting to make sure that what we have on the books is accurate from a Valet Zone standpoint. There may be some consolidation. There may be some zones they say we don't need or we want to pick up other ones. Or, we expect this to drive a more efficient use of valet space, which is part of the intent of it. But all that to say, I think this is kind of an over-aggressive snapshot. I think the numbers will go down from here. But right now, if we were to implement today based on what we have on the books now, we've got 5 operators that would be $30,000 and above. That's about 10%. Right now we have roughly 54 spaces, at least in the working data set that I was using. So 10% are at that very highest level, and then 55% of them are $5,000 or below. So over half of them are much lower than that, and a quarter of all of the spaces are less than $1,000. So there are a number of operators who have a pretty nominal charge. Of course, it's more than the $50 we've been charging for a long time, but it remains relatively low. Everybody else is somewhere in the middle, and if you want more information, I can give you the breakdown in $5,000 increments. I hope that helps.
It does. It helps a lot. Thank you.
Could I have questions?
Yes.
So again, I know we've been talking about this for a long time, and it came up with the amount and where and pop-ups of valets. So if we defer this, are we sticking at $50? What are we doing? I'm curious.
As I understand the alternate proposal here, voiced just a moment ago, we would be keeping the $50 up through July of 2022. At that point, then, I think the intent would be that we're prorating this full amount by 6 months, and that would be assessed for the second half of 2022, if I understand that.
So it's still just $50 for that?
The rest of this year and the first part of...
That's a great deal.
It's a great deal.
It's been a great deal for decades.
A long time. So we have a first. Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Okay, so is there any further discussion from commissioners on the motion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It is passed. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work on this. So I know, Mr. Turner, you've assembled groups of folks, everyone who came today to speak. Mr. Hammond, we thank you for your assistance in leading this. Mr. Mazio, thank you very much for coming today, and all the commissioners, because it's been an issue of concern for quite a long time. So, all right. Mr. Knopf, do you have any other matters for the good of the group?
That felt good, didn't it? We got that off the plate a little bit. So, like Mr. Hammond said, and like we've been saying, that gives us, that motion works to our favor, really. We're going to have all these, we're going to have to evaluate all the existing zones probably. If there's a vendor that wants us to look at your zone and measure it and reduce it, move it, whatever, consolidate it, as Mr. Hammond said, now's the time before July of 2022. And that could impact these values, this cost, and that's the goal. So if you've got a zone that you want us to look at, and I'm not talking just people here, that gives us time to evaluate those and get you on the books for a new rate. Well said, Councilman.
Well, thank you, everyone. So I'd like to think we reached kind of a pretty good compromise based on the comments. So
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.